Imagine you're walking through a forest. The leaves crunch beneath your feet. Suddenly, a rustle. A bear steps onto the path. What happens next is not a conscious decision. Your body chooses fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. The science, psychology, and philosophy of human response. In this exploration, we'll dive deep into how our brains handle danger, trauma, decision-making, and instinct. From biology to thought, from Darwin to Sartre, buckle up. Chapter 1. The Evolution of Survival, where it all began. Before we had words, before we had language, we had fear. Imagine you're a Homo erectus on the African savanna. The sun is blistering, the air smells of dry earth. Suddenly, a lion appears on the horizon. You don't think. You react. This moment, the surge of energy, the quickening heartbeat, the rush of breath, is ancient. It's your body saying, live. What we now call the fight-or-flight response was coined in 1915 by physiologist Walter Cannon. But it existed long before science named it. You have to remember, evolution doesn't care about comfort, it cares about survival. Animals develop three basic responses to threat: fight, confront the danger; flight, escape the danger; freeze, become invisible, avoid detection. These aren't choices, they're pre-programmed patterns, hardwired into the autonomic nervous system, the part of your brain that acts faster than thought. You can see it in nature. Fight, a mother bear defending cubs; flight, a rabbit escaping into a burrow; freeze, a deer in headlights, or a possum playing dead. Human application. Over time, our environment changed, but our biology didn't. The tiger became a boss, a breakup, a battlefield. The brain didn't know the difference. You are not broken. You are ancient. Evolution gave us this system to keep us alive. It works, but it doesn't always know when to stop. Understanding where these responses came from is the first step to understanding yourself. You are not weak. You are wired. In our next chapter, we'll look at what happens inside your body, the chemistry of fear. Chapter 2. The physiology of fear. When you feel fear, you think it's in your mind, but it starts in your body, in less than a heartbeat. Meet your fear circuit. First, the amygdala. This almond-shaped structure is always scanning, even while you sleep. Hear a loud bang? See a flash of movement? Your amygdala shouts, danger! The hypothalamus receives the signal and flips a switch. This activates your sympathetic nervous system, and things move fast. What happens next? In less than half a second, your heart rate spikes, your blood sugar increases, your digestion shuts down, your muscles flood with oxygen. Your body is now a machine built for one thing: survival. Hormones in play. Adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is the sprint. Cortisol is the marathon. Adrenaline makes you fast. Cortisol keeps you going. But too much cortisol, over time, is toxic. Weight gain, insomnia, depression, even memory loss. Freeze. The forgotten response. Sometimes neither fight nor flight feels possible. You go still. Your body shuts down. Muscles lock. Voice disappears. This is freeze, and it's deeply misunderstood. What's happening in freeze? Freeze is a parasympathetic override, like slamming the brakes while the gas pedal is still down. It's not weakness, it's biology. Freeze isn't failure. It's conservation. It's the body playing dead to stay alive. Modern relevance. Your body doesn't know the difference between a bear and a boss. Your amygdala responds to deadlines like they're predators. Every email alert, every siren, every confrontation, the same ancient circuits light up. It's not in your head, it's in your nervous system. Fear is not a flaw, it's an ancient intelligence. But what happens when it never turns off? In the next chapter, we explore how fight, flight, and freeze shape human behavior in the real world. Chapter 3. Human behaviors under threat. When instinct meets reality. In the wild, fight, flight, and freeze are survival strategies. In modern life, they can be mistaken for character flaws. What does fear look like in real humans? Not in labs, but in the field? In war, in abuse, in trauma, in everyday life? High-stress professions. For soldiers, first responders, and crisis professionals, stress isn't theoretical. It's real, immediate, and constant. Split-second decisions mean life or death, and yet, in the most intense moments, many people freeze. Freeze is often reported in combat, especially during ambush or sudden threats. It's not cowardice, it's a system overload. What looks like resistance is often paralysis. What looks like defiance is often survival instinct. Freeze in trauma. One of the most misunderstood reactions to trauma is stillness. Victims often report being frozen, unable to scream, fight, or run. Later they're asked, "Why didn't you do something?" "I wasn't choosing, my body chose for me." In moments of extreme threat, the thinking brain goes offline, amygdala floods, prefrontal cortex shuts down. This is not a failure of willpower, it's the design of the system. Dissociation and memory. In freeze, the mind often disconnects. This is called dissociation, a mental split to protect against overwhelming input. Victims may forget details, timelines, even identities. This leads to legal skepticism. Why don't you remember? But memory under stress is not linear. It's fragmented, like a broken mirror. The freeze response includes a kind of self-erasure. The mind says, "If I can't escape, I won't be here." Survival comes in many forms. We must stop ranking them. Social perception. In our culture, we celebrate the fighter, we understand the runner, but we shame the frozen. From childhood, we're taught that action is strength, stillness is weakness, but freeze is not weakness, it's intelligence. A deep evolutionary bet: if I don't move, maybe I survive. If we can stop judging the body's automatic responses, we can start healing. In our next chapter, we'll explore how stress, short-term and long-term, transforms not just our reactions, but our health. Chapter 4. The Science of Stress, when survival becomes a slow burn. Fight, flight, and freeze evolved to save your life in short bursts. But what happens when the threat never ends? What happens when survival mode becomes your default setting? Acute versus chronic stress. Acute stress is temporary. It's a fire alarm. It comes. It goes. You reset. Chronic stress is different. It's subtle, it's constant, and it's toxic. The body on stress. Immune suppression, increased inflammation, weight gain, especially belly fat, insomnia, high blood pressure, memory problems. Chronic stress rewires the brain, especially the hippocampus, which regulates memory and emotion. Over time, it literally shrinks. Stress in daily life. Your brain is still wired for tigers, but now the tiger is your inbox, your unpaid bills, your calendar, your social media feed, your constant notifications. Every ping, ding, and buzz activates the same ancient neural pathways. You're not imagining it. Modern life keeps us in low-grade survival mode. Stress across time. In prehistoric life, fear meant action. You ran, you fought, you froze. Then, it was over. Today, stressors linger. Emails don't end, rent doesn't pause, work follows you home, trauma accumulates, slowly. Stress, society, and disparity. Not all stress is distributed equally. Systemic oppression, financial insecurity, racism, these aren't occasional stressors, they're lifelong conditions. Chronic fear becomes embedded, the body stays activated, the mind stays on guard. Stress and illness. Long-term stress has been linked to heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, depression, Alzheimer's. We can't talk about health without talking about stress. The body doesn't compartmentalize the mind. Stress, awareness, and the pause. The first step in healing stress isn't doing more, it's recognizing what's happening and giving your body permission to stop. Not everything requires reaction. Some things require restoration. You're not overreacting, you're overstimulated. Stress is not weakness. It's the body trying to protect itself, again and again, but it's not designed for endless war. Next, we explore how your brain makes decisions under threat, and why fear makes smart people do irrational things. Chapter 5. The Psychology of Decision-Making Under Fear. How we think when we're scared. Fear doesn't just make your heart race, it changes how and what you think. When you're afraid, you don't make rational decisions. You make fast ones, emotional ones, sometimes dangerous ones. What fear does to your brain. The moment fear hits, your amygdala activates and sends an emergency signal. But here's what's crucial. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, empathy, long-term thinking, starts to shut down. The more intense the fear, the less control you have over reasoning. You don't weigh options, you react. The shift, from thinking to survival. Fear collapses the decision tree. You go from, what are my options, to, what will get me out right now? It's efficient, but it comes at a cost. Poor risk assessment, impulsivity, increased aggression, black and white thinking. Cognitive biases under fear. Fear doesn't just shrink your logic, it fuels bias. Key fear-driven biases. Catastrophizing, imagining worst-case scenarios. Confirmation bias, seeking out fear-confirming evidence. Fundamental attribution error, assuming others' actions are based on intent, not circumstance. In-group, out-group bias, trusting us, fearing them. In crowd settings, fear spreads like fire. One scream, one shove, one wrong signal. The brain's priority shifts from reasoning to mirroring. We copy fear. That's how mobs form. That's how stampedes happen. That's how rumors spiral. Fear and moral choice. When under threat, even ethics shift. People lie to protect themselves, betray allies, justify cruelty. It's not because they're evil. It's because fear hijacks compassion. Fear activates the self-preservation circuitry. Trust evaporates. Paranoia takes over. We start to think, if I don't protect myself, no one will. Politics, media, and fear manipulation. Fear isn't just a reaction, it's a tool. Leaders, media outlets, and corporations all use fear to influence decisions. Why? Because it works. When people are scared, they click more, vote more extremely, buy more products, follow stronger voices. Fear narrows the mind, and narrow minds are easier to lead. The way out. So what do? Slow down. Recognize when you're triggered. Breathe. Literally, re-engage the prefrontal cortex by asking questions. Is this true? What are the facts? Am I safe right now? Awareness reopens the map. The brain cannot panic and think clearly at the same time, but it can learn to shift gears. Your brain isn't broken, it's built for survival. But with awareness, you can retrain it to pause before reacting, to think before fighting, fleeing, or freezing. In our next chapter, we explore what philosophy and spirituality have to say about fear, and whether we can ever truly be free of it. Chapter 6. Fear, Philosophy, and the Self. What it means to be afraid. We've seen how fear works in the body. We've seen how it shapes decisions. But deeper still, fear raises a more human question. What does it mean to live in fear and still be free? Eastern perspectives. Acceptance over control. In Eastern traditions, Buddhism, Taoism, Vedanta, fear is not something to conquer. It's something to observe, to witness, to befriend. The Buddha taught that fear arises from attachment, to identity, to safety, to the future. The root of suffering is attachment. In meditation, practitioners don't fight fear. They sit with it, name it, watch it dissolve. When I felt fear rise in my chest, I smiled at it. I bowed to it like an old friend. I said, "You are not me, but you are here. Welcome." Western philosophy, Fear and the individual. In the West, fear has long been tied to freedom, will, and identity. For Socrates, fear was the root of ignorance, the force that makes people cling to lies rather than face truth. For Descartes, fear led him to doubt everything, until only his thinking remained. I think, therefore I am. Existentialists, fear as the void. Existentialists saw fear as central to being. For Sartre and Heidegger, fear was not just about threats, it was about meaninglessness. The fear that life has no purpose, that freedom is a burden, that we are alone, responsible for our choices, with no safety net. To be free, said Sartre, is to be afraid. Because freedom means owning your actions in a world without guarantees. Fear, courage, and the human spirit. But if fear is inevitable, is courage just resistance? He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. For Nietzsche, the goal was not to eliminate fear, but to build a life strong enough to carry it. Modern philosophers and thought leaders, thinkers like Martha Nussbaum, Cornel West, and bell hooks all point to the same truth. Fear is not just personal. It's political. It's cultural. It's shared. Hooks writes that healing from fear requires community and love. Not the soft kind, but the kind that protects, resists, and restores. The opposite of fear is not bravery. It's clarity. Spirituality and the fear of death. Beneath all fear lies one great terror, death. The end of self, the loss of control, the unknown. Every culture has wrestled with it. Some embrace it, some deny it, all build meaning around it. To fear death is to fear the ending of a story you think is yours, but maybe you're just a chapter in something larger. Living with fear, not in it. We will all feel fear. What matters is whether we obey it. You can move forward afraid, you can speak afraid, you can love afraid. That is the only kind of courage that's real. Fear is not an enemy. It is a signal, a teacher, a force. What you do with it, that is your philosophy. In our final chapter, we return to the body, the breath, and the present, to ask, how do we rewire the system itself? Chapter 7. Rewiring. From trauma to transformation. You've made it this far. You've seen how fear moves in the body, the mind, and the soul, but this is where the story turns. This is where survival becomes something else. Healing. Growth. Transformation. Neuroplasticity. Your brain can change. For centuries, we thought the brain was fixed. That once trauma carved its path, you were stuck. But we now know that's wrong. Your brain rewires through repetition, through awareness, through love. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to reconfigure itself, even after years of stress or trauma. Practices like mindfulness, therapy, somatic work, and even meaningful conversation can literally reshape your nervous system. Trauma isn't just in your mind, it's in your body, stored in your muscles, breath, and posture. That's why talk therapy isn't always enough. Healing means reconnecting with the body and releasing what words can't touch. Try key practices like grounding breathwork, slow exhales, activate the parasympathetic system, vagal toning, movement-based therapies, e.g., TRE, dance, martial arts. The power of safe relationship. The nervous system is relational. We heal in connection, not isolation. Polyvagal theory shows that co-regulation, calming in the presence of another, is key to rewiring fear responses. A safe gaze, a hand on your back, a voice that says, "I'm here." These aren't luxuries, they're medicine. Trauma-informed living. Whether you're a teacher, parent, leader, or friend, knowing how fear works helps you hold others more gently. The trauma-informed world is one that asks, not, "What's wrong with you?" but "What happened to you?" And more importantly, What's possible now? Regulation before reason, safety before solutions, post-traumatic growth. Some people don't just recover from trauma, they grow. Research calls it post-traumatic growth. A deeper sense of purpose, new priorities, more compassion, stronger relationships. It's not about silver linings, it's about what becomes possible when pain is faced and integrated. Fear is a portal. You were never meant to live without fear, but you were never meant to live in it either. Fear is not a flaw, it's the doorway. On the other side is not just safety, but presence, power, and peace. You are not broken. You are not your fear. You are allowed to feel it and move anyway. If this video moved you, don't stop here. Ask yourself, where is fear living in my body right now? And what would happen if I met it with care? Fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. Share it with someone who needs it. Watch my other videos for more healing content.